So this was a little bit of an interesting one. Like I said, I'm normally with Trump on most things, but I'm a little confused by his stance on this one. He's been railing against China for like 40 years.
China is taking advantage and abusing us.
Is China our enemy?
In an economic sense, absolutely. We have China because of trade. They're sucking our money out of us. They're taking our money like candy from a baby. We've been very badly let down by China. So I'm very disappointed in China.
Even the people like me, look, I back Trump on nearly everything. We're a little confused here, okay? Today he took a bit of a different tone.
Look, we're getting along very well with China, and I'm getting along very well with President Xi. I think it's very insulting to say students can't come here. We're just getting along very well with China. It's a different relationship than we had for years, where they took hundreds of billions of dollars, just sucked it right out of our country. They respect us again. I respect them. The relationship is very good.
And look, it's Trump, so I have to think this is tied to some sort of leverage for a trade deal upcoming, okay? Because that's still pending. Trump mentioned this might be the case a while ago, saying, quote, full magnets and any necessary rare earths will be supplied up front by China. Likewise, we will provide to China what was agreed to, including Chinese students using our colleges and universities. Okay, benefit of the doubt, it's a negotiation, give and take, and I'll get to why this is dangerous in a minute. But last night, Howard Lutnick goes on and tells the world that if we block Chinese students, it would be taken from the top and 15% of colleges would go out of business and whatever else he said. And I'm thinking to myself, 15% less colleges, no Chinese nationals stealing our intellectual property. Okay, win-win. But first, look, listen to this. We have almost 6,000 what they call post-secondary institutions eligible to participate in financial student assistance programs. 6,000 institutions for which a 17-year-old kid with no credit, no concept of ramifications of a loan can get one for $200,000 with no collateral at 19%. They can mortgage their future and never be able to file bankruptcy on that loan. Look, okay. That 6,000 seems like a big number for that. But look, I subscribe to the Warren Buffett logic. I didn't go to college. And he said that you don't actually need college outside of a few very specific trades like doctors, even lawyers. As recently as like 100 years ago, it was not mainstream to go to law school. It was all done through apprenticeships. It didn't even become the primary path to being a lawyer until money became available for it, when post-World War II, the GI Bill fueled an explosion in post-high school education. And now what? You got this. You got many universities like Yale. They have more administrators than undergrad students. They are employment farms for mostly liberals. So I could care less if 15% of colleges go out of business. They don't produce anything other than debt for our kids. People are getting like gender studies degrees. They can't get real jobs, so they just get recycled back into the teaching ranks to teach the same worthless degrees that they couldn't get jobs in for other suckers taking out $200,000 in loans. But more importantly, I'm sure Trump must know this, and if he doesn't, he should actually just fire all of his advisors. But did you know that the People's Republic of China, the National Intelligence Law of 2017, quote, any organization or citizen shall support, assist, and cooperate with the state intelligence work in accordance with the national intelligence law and keep secrets of the national intelligence work from becoming known to the public. This is the reason that it is so important to China to attend our universities. It's worth a lot to their spy community. And this is known globally that China steals ours and basically everybody else's intellectual property. The vast majority of Chinese students are enrolled in STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. They don't come here to get basket weaving degrees or all those other dumb things. So what are those STEM sectors heavily involved in? Also, R&D, research and development. In fact, almost all graduate students, particularly PhD candidates, which amount to it's like tens of thousands participate, and some of these are among confidential university-funded research and development. Conservative estimates say 30 to 50,000 Chinese nationals are in cutting-edge research and development paid for by our tax dollars and the money being loaned to American students via tuition. Sure, China pays tuition, but unless you're contributing to the Penn Biden Center, it's not a lot to the universities. Again, what America and our liberal institutions view as like some weird, like, oh, we're inclusive and tolerance. Our adversaries view it as an easy target. And in a weird about face, this is what I'm so confused that Trump is wanting to allow 600,000 Chinese students now. What's even scarier is 90% of these Chinese nationals, after they graduate, they stay here under work visas and go on to work for the companies that also develop sensitive products. Remember, again, it's their duty as a Chinese citizen to act as an agent on behalf of the CCP, which includes feeding intel back, which is why our companies and our economy and our products are being undermined by cheaper stuff at a rate from China.
China's defaulted with us because if you look at what they're doing with intellectual property, $300 billion a year. I mean, you look at what they're doing with the way they steal our intellectual property, our intellectual rights. I mean, it's crazy what they're doing.
Yeah, and that was when he was then candidate Trump in 2016. Now, post-COVID, China costs us an estimated $600 billion in intellectual property theft to the U.S. That's to private businesses, folks, every single year. So for Trump, I mean, look, he's a smart guy. He's been way ahead on the China stuff. I mean, like, he's a businessman. I can't imagine he doesn't know this. And for Trump to agree to perpetuate $600 billion in economic damage to the United States, I got to think that he sees something that he would get out of it. I mean, he wouldn't do it for nothing. I mean, I was doing the math. Is there a mathematical way to recoup our $600 billion to the U.S. economy in a trade deal? No, there's not. China imports less than $500 billion worth of goods to us. So even if we tariffed it at 100%, it wouldn't even compensate for the IP theft. I'm struggling to see what's going on here other than, keeping 15% of universities from going out of business, like Howard Lutnick said, which is notably almost all lean Democrats. Like the most of these universities are just full of libs. I'm at a bit of a loss, but Trump's usually has a plan for this stuff, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. But if it was up to me, I wouldn't let one Chinese national into our universities. I wouldn't let them own a single square inch of farmland. I definitely wouldn't let them work for our companies with proprietary information. So until I see more, I'm respectfully, Mr. President, disagreeing with you on this. Gordon Chang, author of The Coming Collapse of China and Plan Red, China's Project to Destroy America. Gordon, this is like the weirdest turn of events for me. Please tell me that there's some sort of big deal that I'm not seeing here.
I think you're seeing everything, Carl, and I agree with you 100%. There's a couple of issues here. There's the spying, of course, and then there is the place of these institutions in society. They are here to teach Americans. This is our country. This is supposed to be our future. Every place that goes to a Chinese student or a foreign student is one fewer place for an American, and that is the essential fact. The other thing about this is, we not only import students, we're importing Ministry of State Security agents, because where there are Chinese students on our college and university campuses, where they're in even just high schools, there are Ministry of State Security officials monitoring, coercing, and surveilling these concentrations of students. So if we're importing more students, and we got about 277,000 now in the last school year, 2023, 2024, if we're going to more than double that, we're going to be doubling the number of Chinese spies in our country.
Yeah, but so who's giving him this
wrong.
advice?
I don't know. My guess is, Trump is a force of nature. And when he has great ideas, he's got the will to implement them. And he goes out and he talks about them. He's not filtered. There's no interagency process in this administration. But it also means that when he's got a truly horrible idea, there's nobody to stand up and say, Mr. President, don't do this. This is wrong. And unfortunately, you had Trump's comments yesterday. You had Howard Lutnick cheering him from behind.
Do you think he's trying to woo Xi into this trade deal that's upcoming? That the end is running out on this short-term deal. Do you think it's part of that?
It might be, because it was in a discussion, in comments about trade, but it is on the wrong side of things. Because remember, Trump is saying, look, we're going to get a lot of money from Chinese students. So the Chinese are going to say, well, you think having Chinese students in your country is a benefit to the U.S.? We're going to make you pay for that in some concession you give to us. So those comments, I think, put the United States into a weaker bargaining position, not a stronger one.
Yeah.
So I don't see the logic of this. I'm on your side 100%, Carl.
My only thinking is that he's going to get this trade deal signed and turn around and say, ha-ha, they can only enroll in basket weaving. Have a nice day. Gordon Chang, pleasure, sir.
Thanks, Carl.
All right. Gordon Chang's book, Plan Red, China's Project to Destroy America, is available in bookstores everywhere, or get it with a free offer from Newsmax. Call or go online. Check it out.
He loves the Constitution. He fights for what's right. He hates the bad guys. He's a freedom warrior. He's your freedom warrior. Watch Carl Higbie every weekday on Newsmax.